There we are. Welcome. Welcome to the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild. This is our general meeting. We have it every month. My name is Mike McCauley. I'm the vice president of the guild. Cal, our president, who normally runs this, is left town today. Didn't say exactly what it's about, something about a young girl, and I don't know. Want to, first of all, welcome everybody to be here. If you're on YouTube or Facebook Live, please let us know how you found us if you're not a member of the guild. And just say hi in the comments so we can find out where you're from and how you heard about us. For everyone here, we want to take a minute to remember John Wilson. John Wilson has been here several times over the years. He was the one that made the round or oval shaker boxes. I was privileged enough to take the last class when he was here just before COVID. His partner, I understand, I don't see Kevin right off, but I understand they're still in negotiation about possibly getting Eric, his partner, to come in this year and teach that class. So we'll see how that goes, but we do want to remember John, that he passed away recently. He was a good friend of the guild. Want to acknowledge, is there anybody here that is here, is a visitor and has not been here before? Raise your hand, please. Would you stand up? And folks, let's acknowledge these people that are our visitors tonight. Thank you for being here. There you go, all three of you stand up. Yeah, thank you. And is there anybody that has joined, but this is the first time they've ever gotten here as a new member? Okay, yeah, Craig, sit down. Thank you for being here tonight. This is going to be a good program tonight. We've got several things to go through, so let's go ahead and get things rolling. As vice president, I don't have anything to add. Several of you have mentioned that I looked good from coming back. I did have open heart surgery beginning of the year, and on my second month of recovery, the doctor says I can start building muscles again so I can get back out and get back into the shop to do some things. David Roth, I saw you here somewhere. You got anything to report tonight? Nothing to report from the secretary. Craig Arnold, member at large. Craig's shaking his head. He's a new member, he's never been here before, so, oh yeah, to be member at large, you have to have 5 years experience. How did that happen? Gary, we've got our treasurer here, and he's got a lot of information to report. Somebody give him oh, here, I got a microphone.
Okay.
There's what you're looking at.
Today is the day that I give the annual financial report of the guild. So this is my big time in front of this nice audience. And so I want to tell you that the guild keeps its financial records using the cash basis. And what that means is that we recognize revenue when we deposit the money in the bank. We recognize expenses when I write the check. We do not use the accrual method, so there are times, for instance, that you may have a class where the revenue comes in January. The class is not until March, so that's a mixture as far as when we recognize the revenue for that class and when we recognize the expenses. So we are under the cash basis. Next slide. As you can see, this year, this is our new record as far as the amount of cash reserve that we have on hand, which is a little over $314,000. So the takeaway from this slide is that we have enough money to pay the rent and keep the lights on for the rest of the year, okay? This is a new record that we've never been over 300K for the year. Next slide. This is where we had our money at the end of the year. So we had $5,000 in checking, we had about $83,000 in savings, and we had $226,000 in CDs. We have 6 CDs. They're all short-term. They're either 12 months or less in maturity. Next slide. From the beginning of the year, we had 245. We ended up with the 314. So we wound up making a little over 69,000 for the year. This is also a new record as far as the amount of change in our reserve. The big reason for that is the turf boxes that we built throughout the year. And I do want to thank those of you that volunteered to do that, both from a project management standpoint. We had a guy that stepped up that was a relatively new member and took charge of that. His name is Art LaGrange. And so big thanks to him, also for all the people that volunteered. We still have the last 126 boxes that need to be sprayed, and so we need hardware to put on, so we're not quite through with that. But Turf was nice enough to pay us for even the boxes that we hadn't delivered, because they had something to do with the way they budget, that if they don't spend the money by the end of the year, they have to rebudget it, and so they'd rather pay it than have to go through that. Okay, next slide. This is a slide just to kind of give you a comparison of where we were. So you can see that back in 2019, we were sitting at 164,000 as far as our reserve, and we just about doubled that in the 3 years. And you can see at the bottom there, the change in reserve, the 69 is a nice round, or a nice figure to have. This is a kind of a representation of where the revenue sources come from. And you can see that the majority of our revenue comes from our membership. And so that is a reminder that right now that we are in our membership renewal process. That membership renewal ends at the end of this month. So if you have not renewed your membership, you need to do that before the end of this month. At the end of this month, you will be dropped from the roster, and you will be treated as a new member if you join after September 28th. So if you're planning on joining...
No, after March 1st.
February
28th.
February, okay. So anyway, if you're going to continue to be a member of the Guild, make sure you do that before the end of the month. And you can see it, no, not quite yet. And you can see that our membership and our training revenue, the training revenue and also our fundraising projects, those are both netted. So what I did is I took the amount of revenue that we received, I subtracted what it cost us to do the training and for the lumber and so forth for the various projects, and those are the numbers that I came up with. So you can see that the 32,000 is what really put us over the top as far as as making it to our 69,000 change in revenue. Okay, from an expense side, you can see that our rent is our biggest expense. The rent here again is netted because the Turners, they subleased from us and they pay part of that. So I took off the roughly 16,000 that they paid us and subtracted that. So our rent is really like $55,000, and that's our largest expense. After that is the utilities, and the majority of that then is our lighting, because we do use quite a bit of electricity for the equipment and also for heat and so forth, heat and air conditioning. The other it includes things like assets that we purchased and events and office expenses. Okay, next slide. This is a representation then of actually where all the money is broken down more precisely. I couldn't do that and make a slide of it because you couldn't see what was going on. But again, here you can kind of see, give you an accurate expense as far as where the membership goes. You can see the gross number for The fundraising projects, you can see that there's $63,000 there, where we basically had about half of that as far as expenses go. Next slide is the cash that goes out, and here again you can get a good picture as far as what or where our expenses are. Okay, are there any questions? As far as challenges for the next year, we need to renegotiate or renew our lease. Our lease runs out in 2024, in May of 2024, but we like to have it finalized before then. What happens is that we rent approximately 12,000 square feet for this shop. Our neighbors to the north, they rent about 75,000 square feet. Our neighbors to the south, about 4,000 square feet. And so when we talk to our landlord, the first thing that they do is they go to either one of those customers and say, hey, in the next umpteen years, are you going to need 10,000 more square feet? And if they say yes, in 4 years, you can bet that our lease is not going to be longer than 4 years. And that's one of the reasons that we have to have that cash reserve, because in order to move this shop and put it somewhere else, one, we've looked from time to time to see whether we can find a location that is as nicely centralized as this, and also has air conditioning and heating and so on. And we've really had a hard time finding a location that is equivalent to this. So if in fact, when we start this renegotiation and they come back and forth and they say, hey, I'll only loan you, or I'll only lease you for 3 years, then we're in a panic mode as far as trying to find a place and getting it set up. But that's where the $300,000 comes in, because it would cost us the majority of that in order to move this place. And so that's one of the reasons that we try to keep our options open, and also make sure that we have a good transition plan if in case we need it. Now, if neither one of them wants it, they like us because we pay our rent on time. So hopefully they won't need the space. Okay, that's it for me, unless you have any questions.
Real quick, Gary. We've had several people comment about the stairs. Please tell us what Copenhagen said about the stairs.
In fact, that's one of the sore points. One of the things that Copenhagen does is that as part of our lease, we have what they call common area maintenance fees. So we are a 12,000 square foot customer. All of the properties that they own that are above ground, they total around 450,000 square feet. So they take all of those expenses and put them in one bucket, and then they divide them out. So 2.61% of whatever the common area maintenance is, we have to pay for. And so things like the stairs, I am told that they are in a bidding process and they're supposed to get those fixed. This year they painted the building, and they paved our parking lot. So hopefully by next year we'll have the stairs fixed, but we do talk to them about that. Also as part of the common area deal, there is the taxes and the insurance that goes along with all of these buildings. All of those costs are then added to the square footage cost for the actual rent. So we may pay $3.06 for the square foot of space that we rent, and then we probably pay another $200 or $2.50 for the CAM charges. At the end of the year, if we don't contribute enough to cover the taxes, the insurance, and the CAM, they will then come back to us and say, hey, we didn't charge you enough in those CAM charges, and so you owe us an additional, in this case here, $10,000. And so we then argue back and forth as far as what is a maintenance cost and what should be a capital expenditure, because capital expenditures don't fall into the CAM area. But so we go through this this song and dance as far as coming up with what the actual number is. But that's yes.
What did they say about painting the building? What was that?
They like it.
They took a maintenance-free facade.
I explained that. I tried to explain that to them, but they are interested in making the building look good, at least right now. And since it didn't cost them anything, if they paint it every 5 years or every 3 years, it doesn't make any difference to them. We have the same conversation with insurance, that they self-insure for $50,000. And the rest of that, they go out to the market and buy it. And I try to tell them, hey, I've never seen a company this large that didn't self-insure for a couple of $1 million, and then have a insurance policy that just covers the the disastrous deal. But here again, Kopech and Brooks is a manager. They don't really own the property. The property is owned by who knows how many hundred people. And so rather than trying to get all of them to agree that, hey, we can self-insure for this amount, they don't want to fool with that. And hence, we are where we are. I guess from our standpoint, the downside is that you can't go out and find a place like this very easily. And so they know that, and we know that. So we are where we are.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I'd like to mention, Gary does all this, and he takes care of all our financial ends, takes care of the lease, takes care of all these negotiations, and we don't pay him.
But if any of you want to help out.
Yeah, I had a couple in here tonight. I don't think they stuck around, but they went through the guild, and they had been a member of that organization, Do It Yourself or whatever it's called, out on Olathe. And we did the tour and showed them, what all we had and everything. And their final question is when I took them up to the membership desk and I said, "This is what our costs are," and they go, $95. That's a month? No, that's a year. What? I said, "Yeah, that's a year, a little less than $10 a month." "Well, how can you do this place for less than $10 a month?" I said, "Well, number one, we have these fundraisers that everybody contributes to that helps pay for things, including our original one at Andre's, but everyone here is a volunteer. No one gets paid." "Well, how can you run an organization like this with just volunteers?" I said, "Well, we've got a lot of dedicated people. So let's give those people that spend their time here, whether they're a foreman, whether they're a teacher, whether they're a member of the board, let's give them a round of applause." Okay, moving right along. Chuck, you got anything back there for sale?
Our asset seizure and forfeiture sale.
Asset seizure and forfeiture.
All the Jeeps are gone, but we have a bunch of stuff that would sure look nice at your house.
We have some experienced tools that need to find their way home to your shop, as well as some wood pieces that if you do have some storage space back there and you haven't made arrangements yet, be sure to make arrangements or we're going to have more stuff for sale very quickly. So if you haven't looked back there yet, look over what Chuck has back there. Anything that's back there has been donated and all the proceeds go to the guild. Brian, I saw him here earlier. Got something about communication. Get a microphone, please. Either come up here or get one over here. I'm encouraging people to use microphones because the people on Facebook can't hear you without a microphone. They have no idea what's going on.
So we spent some time in the library this weekend cleaning out the 8 bajillion copies of fine woodworking. And as Chuck so eloquently said, they would look good in your home. You could probably get an entire set from us, and we will make you a deal that you will love. We also have gone through a lot of the books. We're eliminating a lot of the duplicates. We've got many copies of the same book in different locations. We're trying to fix that. So in the coming months, as you come to the meetings, you should see some nice titles in the book sale for very cheap. And hopefully here pretty soon, we will have the space for a third table in the library where we can put another CAD station. And that'll make those of you that have come in and waited to get on those stations a little happier. That's about it.
Okay. Is Don Steele here tonight?
Don is not feeling good.
Don's not feeling well, so Brian also gave us a report from the library, and so we appreciate that. Facebook. If you're on Facebook, go to @KCWWG. Our Facebook group is Kansas City Woodworkers Guild Group. Our Instagram is Kansas City Woodworkers Guild, all one word, all lower capital, or lower letters. And on Twitter, it's @KCW Guild. On YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell. Let us know you're there. Please make any comments that you have. Yes, sir.
I've noticed that.
Microphone, please.
I've noticed that
Orange.
Amazon is getting rid of the Smiles thing.
Amazon Smiles going away.
Yeah, you can only give to the charity of their choice.
Yeah. We had some good mileage out of Amazon Smile, and we're not saying don't buy from Amazon, although you get a discount with your membership at Rockler and Woodcraft. So don't forget those things. Kevin, you got anything about Kevin Thomas is here somewhere. Got anything about the podcast?
Podcast or training?
Not podcast yet, at this point.
Is this one not working?
That one's working. That one's
That
working.
one's working. The podcast, we've got one in the can that is going to be uploaded soon, I'm sure, tomorrow. And that's Mike and Grace and I.
Mike Jones, yeah.
I'm sorry,
Mike Jones.
Mike Jones, Grace Ambrose. And then we're going to record one this weekend with myself and Norm Carpenter and David Kratz. We're going to talk about teaching. So that's something to watch for. You want me to go ahead and
Go ahead and talk about training.
training? You guys really like classes. Tuesday we posted a class for George Rexroad is on bandsaw boxes, and it's already over full. So there will be more from George coming up in the future, and I will let those of you know that are waiting for basic woodworking to come get posted again. The next session will be posted on April the 4th. So if make sure you're getting the emails from the guild if you're wanting that. So on that Tuesday at, Brian, 7 o'clock, it'll be posted, and I'm sure it'll be
Hit
full.
renew.
I'm sure it will be full by the time the day's over. So,
Yep.
And that's about it right now.
Skill Builder this next month in March.
Oh, March Skill Builder will be Anthony Harris, and Anthony's going to tell us all about spindle turning. Anthony?
Yeah, we'll make a leg or something. Take it off and shake it.
And he's promised to show how to duplicate it. So,
Make a leg. He did.
how to make a
They
leg.
didn't. He didn't have a microphone, so they didn't hear that online.
Yeah, he's going to teach you how to make a leg and duplicate it. So.
Okay, thank you. Chris, got some information about events.
Yep. So a couple events in the work I've been asked about. The woodworking show is coming back. It is a different group and organization that's been doing it, that's managing it this year than in years past. I have sent in our application, an email, and a phone call. I'm still waiting to hear back. I will be following up with them over the next 2 days since I'm off work the next 2 days. Also coming up, working on getting a package deal set up for handwork show it's going to be up in Iowa. That's coming up in late summer, early fall. Looking at getting a package deal where we take a bus up, go to the show, and possibly one day up and back, or even possibly looking at getting a hotel and then trying to get in over at Craig Tools, seeing about taking a tour there, or Woodworking magazine that's up there. So working on those coming up, so be on the lookout for those. Once I get confirmation that we're going to be at the woodworking show, I'll send out a blast, because attendance will be limited, as I've been informed, as far as how many people we can have in the booth. So I'll have a sign up for that to go, and we'll also be posting up information on if you want to just attend as a patron. So be looking for those coming up in the next month.
Gary, would you come back up? Jim Berard's out of town. Gary's getting Chris's microphone here. He's
Okay,
going to tell us about membership.
Yeah, on membership, right now we have 1,055 members. On the 20th of this month, you will get the last reminder to renew your membership. If you don't renew by the 28th, you will be dropped from our roster, and we suspect that we will be down into the 800 and some members at that point in time. So again, like I said before, if you don't want to go through the safety orientation and the safety test and all that, pony up.
For our program information, Matt Nowak.
We have a great We have a great program tonight, of course. At least I'm sure we will. With Dominoes, Domino machine. I love the idea of being able to do a timber frame construction house. But I don't think we're going that size tonight. I think we're going to be more like fine furniture. Though I think we will be demonstrating, or really showing or talking about the one that does the bigger job as well. I love that Domino. It's like a mortising machine on wheels. I don't have a program yet for next month, but I am working on a guy. His shop is just a couple blocks over here on Genesee. He's a nationally acclaimed mandolin maker. His shop burnt down, unfortunately, in the fall, and so he's rebuilding. He says, "Give me a couple of months to get it back together," and so hopefully he'll be here next month. And then for show and tell is probably the most popular thing that we do, and I've been really lucky. We have some great sponsors. Last month it was Lester Bloomer out there at Bloomer Hardwoods. This month it's Larry and Cammie Smith over at L&K Hardwoods. So the way it works is it's not a popularity contest. It's not like how good you can do something, because we have some people that would just blow you away. I would no way compete with some of the people that put stuff in there. So what we do is I'll sit here, and as you do your show and tell, I give you a ticket. I take the other half of the ticket, put in a can. Someone draws one of those tickets out, and that person gets the gift certificate. So that's the way it works. Any questions? If you have any ideas on presenters, just send the ideas to me, and I'll do what I can. I have had ideas come across from people, and people have turned us down. They said, no, they don't want to do it. So you'd be surprised at how many. Why don't you recommend it, Mike?
Yeah,
he says.
bucket maker.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's great. I'd love to have him here, the work that he does.
Yeah.
Holy crap. And not only that, but he's the lead singer for the Elders.
Oh, that's the church maker. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we would probably jam. If I put that on social media, this place would be so jam-packed. With a bunch of Irish people, though, I don't know.
Thank you. Safety committee met last night. I got on line with them, and we only had a few people there. We're always looking for additional people for the safety committee. So if you're interested in safety, if you work in safety, if you want to be safe, please join the safety committee. It's not that great a commitment. It's a lot of fun, and we do. Fortunately, we haven't had to review any accidents for quite a long time now. We want to be sure we don't have to. But one of the things the safety committee does is look ahead, see what can be done a little more safely than what we're doing now. And if by the way, while we mention that, if a foreman comes up to you and says, you may want to consider doing that a little differently, let's get your hands back away from that blade, please pay attention to him. He's not doing it to be mean, or she is not doing it to be mean. They simply want to be sure that you're kept safe. That's the whole reason for the foreman being here. Rough to Ready, I coordinate the Rough to Ready program. We have 6 instructors. In the months of January and February, we have taught 30 students, 30 new people that have come into the guild, mostly new people that have come into the guild and are just now joining, and we take them through each piece of equipment, one-on-one or two-on-one, to explain what the equipment is, how it works, and how to be safe with it. So, and those people spend a lot of volunteer hours, so if you see any of those people that do the Rough to Ready, please acknowledge them and tell them thank you. Dwayne, what's going on back there in Sponsorship City?
Am I hot?
You're on.
We've got all these beautiful gifts up here that we're willing to give away, and as you said, you know, Amazon Smile is gone as of the 22nd of this month. And I think that we've identified, well, I know some of our sponsors have left, so that'll get cleaned up here in the next little bit too. But Christmas is coming, and you ought to think about your spouse and your kids. That there are gifts here that are really rather cheap. Excuse me, are inexpensive.
Inexpensive, yes. Okay, thank you, Dwayne. And how long will you be selling those raffle tickets for tonight?
I can sell them all week, yeah. We'll pull the raffle tickets after the break.
After the break, so up to the break.
So
get back there and
everything
get your
needs to be
tickets.
done by the time you take your break.
Okay, our SIGs, special interest groups. I haven't seen anybody from hand tools. I don't think Rob's here. Wayne, you know anything about hand tools this month?
There'll be one, but I don't know what.
There will be a hand tool SIG, fourth Sunday of the month from 2 to 4 p.m. Wood carving, Jim? Oh, Dan, yes, please.
It's the fourth Tuesday of every month. Fourth Tuesday of every month from 6 to 8 here. And we do pyrography, traditional carving, and power carving. And if people come and they have questions how to do things, we can surely help you, and we'll be willing to help you in any way we can.
Okay, great. Our laser engraver SIG. Myself and Curtis are in charge of it, but I've been out because of my surgery. So, Curtis, what's going on with our laser engraver?
I think this last month was the first time you missed it, but it was also the largest attendance that we had. I'm not sure what the correlation is there.
Well, I guess I won't be doing that anymore.
What's your plan for this month? But we did have a good time. We filled the library, and we talked about some features of light burn, talked about some projects. We had several projects that were brought in and shown. It was really good. And so this month we're going to be meeting. Actually, it's next Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, and we'll be meeting, and we'll be doing some more talking about some features of light burn, and kind of discussing things that maybe people having problems with or want to know about it. And we'll also be doing a little project probably on about St. Patrick's of some sort like that. And then after the meeting, anybody that wants to be trained on the laser will stick around and train you. So come for the SIG and stay for training afterwards.
Okay. Our scroll saw, George? Scroll saw meets the second Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m.
Hi, I'm
Step over
George
this way.
Road.
Step over this way. Pretend like it's a camera.
Oh, they don't want to see me.
That's all right. Keep it moving.
We meet the second Wednesday of the month. The attendance has not been good lately. If it continues in that way, we're going to have to discontinue it. And I don't want to discontinue it. So you scroll sawers, come to the meeting.
Or if you're interested in scroll sawing.
I mean, we can talk about a lot of things. We can do such things as talk about blades and the type of blades and which ones are better. And people are always asking me, well, what size and what type of blade should I buy? And I tell them, I prefer the number 5 skip tooth reverse blades. But that's because most of the stuff I am cutting is a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch, so it makes it real good. Thicker wood, you're gonna have to have a bigger blade. But please, come to the meeting. It's boring when there's only 2 people here.
Thank you, George. Ed, tell us quickly about the CNC machines.
Well, the CNC SIG will be meeting next Tuesday night in the library. We'll start about 6:30 and run till 8:30, whenever we get finished. We've been having real good turnout. It's been interesting. We've had people bringing in projects that they've done. I think some of those projects have stimulated other individuals to do some things, and so it's good to see it growing. If you're interested in the CNC, love to have you come in and just visit with us and see if you want to explore it further. So next Tuesday night, 6:30.
Thank you, Ed. Mr. Bany, our favorite portion of the evening. Show and tell. If you have not seen us before or been here before, show and tell is exactly like it was when you were in kindergarten. You get to come up and tell about your favorite project. In this case, it's something probably made out of wood. We'll get Jim up here and he'll run that. I'll step out of the way. And
Okay, is this on? Is it on now? Good. Who's first?
Just so I can hand out tickets. This is, my son's stationed over in Stuttgart, and I love going over there at Christmas time. You got the green one on? Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Yeah, okay. And going over at Christmas time, if you've ever been over to Germany, you know, they have these, the Christkindl market. Man, those things are really great. And this guy had these little puzzles, but they didn't have any cover over it. Once you took the plastic off of it, it was, you better take a picture of it because it was going to be all over the place. So I decided to create a pencil box lid so that you can put it in there, you can close the lid, it got a magnet in there in order to hold the lid in place, and that way you can move it around and such and such.
Okay.
I designed all the puzzle. I have about a 6 different designs.
So this was the original casing for the puzzle, and then you just put a lid over top of it?
When you say the original, I mean everything. I constructed everything there. Period. I mean,
Okay.
yeah. So the puzzle pieces are made out of a different type of wood than the rest of it. They look like they're made out of cherry, and I painted the.
So the rest of us can see it.
You want to pass it around? No.
No,
I
not
guess
really.
Okay.
If those
So-
pieces come out, you know, they'll never get them back in.
here.
Don't tilt it because it's not.
Jim.
I mean, you can tilt a little bit, but not too far.
Wow.
Those are my favorite ones. That's the ones that are they go better than anyone else. The birds that I designed there. I've got some fish and I've got some guitars and violins and different patterns that I've done. Be careful. You take it out. I don't.
That's the reason I took only one piece out.
Yeah, yeah,
I
but
can do one piece.
So the object of this is to get them all to fit inside that space.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah, that's why I say take a picture first.
Okay. So how many of those you made?
Oh, I don't know, maybe a few dozen.
Okay. What do you do with them?
Either give them away or try to sell them.
Okay.
You can't hardly get any money for what you put into it.
For sure.
That's typical.
Okay. Any questions about puzzles in this box? What'd you finish it with?
I think I put poly on this.
Okay.
I like shellac, but I think I put poly on it.
Nice design.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for doing that. Okay. Russ,
Thank you. So, I'm Craig Arnold. I have space in the back, and I come down here and I build. And every time I need a cart, it seems like there's always in use. So I thought I'm going to build a cart. I was telling
Chuck Saunders that. I said, I'm going to find some plans for a cart. Well, I got home, and in the shop and tools issue of Fine Woodworking magazine, it was in December, was this cart. And I thought, I'm going to build this cart. So I did. So it's just red oak, poplar. Years ago, the Wood Whisperer had some taps for threading wood for sale, and so I bought a set of those, and so all these screws in here have threads deep inside, and just dip the screw in the epoxy and thread the thing in there. So it's pretty stout.
And this is open for anybody to use?
No, it's not. See, that's why the ends are open like this. So if there's other people's shit sitting on here, I can just right off.
How do you know it's yours?
What? Yeah, it does have my name on it in a couple spots. So.
Several locations. And where do you store this?
Yeah. Elsewhere.
Okay, thanks. No finish. That's why I didn't ask him.
Next up.
Our finish guy didn't put a finish on it.
Okay. Who's next? Wayne?
Yep. I've been wanting to play with bandings, making some bandings for a long time. I finally spent some time and did a little bit of it, and so just show what it was, and didn't turn out too bad. These are about the third and fourth ones that I've done. I didn't bring the first two. Don't ask me why. So they're really not very hard to make, and kind of fun. So.
There we go. Get it a little higher, a little forward.
So.
It's a shame you don't do good work.
Yeah, so I smell a class coming from this.
Smells pretty bad.
Yeah, so.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have zero clearance inserts for the saw stops?
We can get them so you can make them.
Okay. Well, it's possible. Yeah, that's another class. Is right. Yeah.
So, gosh, these are all, well, there's two different designs here.
Yeah. But it's made out of the same things, just different size.
And what's the black wood?
It's a black dyed veneer.
Oh, okay.
A thick veneer.
And the light wood is?
Light wood is aspen, and then there's a veneer which is a white dyed veneer.
Okay, and the middle is mahogany?
Middle is sapele.
Okay. That's outstanding. Wow.
Yeah.
That is some intricate work.
It's the hardest part is getting the 16th inch veneers to be identical.
How do you cut that?
Bandsaw, then hand plane and sand, any way I can get it. That was one of the reasons I didn't bring the first two attempts. Still working. I still need to work on that. If you look at it real close, you can see there's some issues with the thickness on some of them.
Yeah, that is really intricate work. So, if you're going to make, how long does it take you to make a piece like this?
If you have the veneers, less than a day.
Less than a day?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you have the veneers.
And what's the longest piece you've made?
You've got to press. This is the longest. I've got a 2-foot press.
Okay. So you have to press each one of those in a layer, or you put it all together
you start
at once?
by cutting all your pieces and then putting the center together. You tape it and then glue it, press it, take it out, put on one layer of veneer on the non-tape side, press it, take it out, take the tape off, put the rest of the veneer on the outside.
Wow. Any questions about this?
Hey, Wayne, when you're talking about the saw stop and things of that sort, how do you rip the strips? Through a bandsaw or through the saw stop?
The small strips.
Yes.
It would be with a table and a table saw.
Okay.
You have to have a special, just use a special thing that you can get, a stop that you can get out of the way.
Okay. Cool. All right.
So-
Thank you.
Yep.
So when you rip it, do you rip the narrow side against the fence, or are you?
Absolutely, yeah.
Ooh.
If you try to move the fence every time, you'd be there to do that. You'd be there for a couple hours, and you'd have thicknesses all over the place. But with the right block, you know, the right thing running through and care, you got to inspect it every time, you know, because you don't want it
Do you
break
use any
off on
kind
you.
of any kind of sled or anything for
what?
for cutting that narrow strip?
This narrow strip?
No, the 16th inch.
16th inch. Well, that's bandsaw, and that's sanding or planing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Very good.
Okay. Any question?
Thanks for bringing that in. That's some really incredible work. Russ? Here, use this one.
I'm Russ Amos. This is an L fence. Anybody in here attended Dave Krantz's class the other day? He was talking about an L fence. Well, this is the one that I made. It's taken off of Fine Woodworking magazine, and I had to modify the design to be able to fit my fence that I have at my shop. So what you do, you fasten this. My fence has got a T-slot in it. So there's T-slots in the back here that, there are T-nuts in the back that go into the T-slot, and it mounts to your fence. And so if you've got a piece of wood, in my particular case, I had these boxes that had spline joints on each corner. And they stick out about 3/16 of an inch because of the triangular shape that you put in there. And it allowed me to put this on my table saw and run the piece of wood across here like this and put that blade up to a 64th or less of an inch from this outside edge, and was able to cut those triangular shaped pieces off of all sides. Just bang, 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 bang. And yeah, you could do it easier with a little saw, but there's 26 of these boxes, so it made it a lot easier to do that. And so what else I did, I had a lid that I had to fit to the top of the box. So what I did, I double face taped it. It's a little bit oversized. Double face taped it to the box. Turned the box over like that, and adjusted it where it would trim that lid to the exact size of the box. Even if the box was slightly out of square or anything like that, it would trim that lid to be exactly what the box had. Yeah, exactly.
And so these raise and lower
Right,
that.
you can raise and lower this up and down to match whatever your particular project is. And again, it was designed from Fine Woodworking magazine. Any questions? Yeah. Yep.
How often do you use this?
At least 27.
I made it in August of 21. This is the first time I've really used it in Bany, because I didn't have a project that needed it.
Okay.
And it just so happened that this 26 box order that I've got, it worked out really good. So if you haven't ever worked with an L fence, you really need to think about doing it, because you can make them a lot simpler than this. All it needs to be is 2 pieces of plywood in an L. But try it sometime, and I think you're really going to like it.
Any questions about it?
Why wouldn't you use the flush trim?
Why Why not?
Why not? I mean, what makes this advantageous over the flush trim bit?
You mean like on a router?
Yeah.
Well, the trouble is with a router, that spinning bit has a tendency to chip things out, especially when you're getting close to the edge. And the table saw doesn't do that. So you get a lot less damage to the piece.
Any other questions? Good idea. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bob Metzler. First one of these I've been to is second year.
Gotta hold it right.
Second year I've been in here. First one of these, so I wasn't sure how this worked. Got kind of a two-part deal here. Got some pictures. We got a lake house because it makes outdoor furniture, white oak. Some was donated to me, given to me. Some was cheap stuff that I found. So I had my own little rough to ready class. Some of it turned out not so good, so I had a little design change in the middle and decided to paint one of the tables instead. So you can kind of cycle through these quick. Just a jigsaw puzzle of trying to find, the best wood out of there. This is out here trying to bring my
What kind
pilot
of wood
down
is
here.
it?
White oak.
Okay.
So you keep going. So that's down here. Handy as hell. That joiner's awesome. For stuff like this, it's tremendous. So then bring it to my shop and at home and finish it up on my own time. You can go to the next one. So that's the table in the middle that I made. Said I painted it. The top wasn't going to initially, but I painted it, spread it out in my garage. Then my wife comes down. We measured this. We decided on the size. We did. I promise you, we did. I have pictures of the tape measure. She sees it in the garage all spread out, and she comes down all sad. It's too big. It's too big. I'm already worked. I was like, it's done. It's too big. I'm like, all right, whatever. Didn't say anything. We measured. I mentioned we measured. So I get it down here, put it together at the lake. She comes down. She sees it for the first time. And she starts crying. It's beautiful. It's great. It's perfect. I'm like, okay, that's great. She says, can you make 2 more? Then I started crying. Okay. So then I was making, from the Wood magazine, making 2 Adirondack chairs, the tall boys, the high boys, and a corresponding table. So this is just all the pieces kind of getting ready to be assembled. You can go to the next. So that's them unfinished. I'm going to put some stain on it and try to figure out how to get them to the lake in my pilot. Next picture, we did have a Super Bowl party. I got to try them out in the basement, so that was cool. They passed everybody's test. Okay, so that's part 1. Part 2 is, well, hold on just a second. We'll do the show and tell in a second. So part 2, everybody's got extra wood, right? You saw the wood. There's a lot of scrap, a lot of firewood, a lot of wood to save, down to toothpick size or whatever we save that stuff for. So I went down on championship weekend. Wife was gone, house to myself, go to the shop. I'm going to rip this stuff down. I'm going to save all the good, put the bad in the burn pile. Get to my table saw, get general blade on there, rip it down, and it's not working right. It's just not working right. It's hard to get through. I said, all right. I kind of stood to the side, a little scared. Push it through, and it's all getting all black. Like, all right, I'm going to try this again. Shave off a little bit. Still not going right. I said, all right, dummy, get your good thin rip blade. Let's do this right, because I had a whole pile. Did that, and it still wasn't working exactly right. And probably everybody's seen something that looks like this when you rip once in a while, maybe, I hope. Okay? Yeah, kind of black. Yeah, the hard way. So, go to crosscut it. Sorry. Table saw's here, dust collector's back there. I had dust collector, safety glasses, hearing protection. Thought I was in pretty good shape. I see a fireball. A fireball coming out of my dust collector. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Haven't done this in public yet. Yeah. So here's my show and tell, the show part of the tell. That.
Keep it upright. Oops. Keep it upright, Jim.
We're not emptying his collector.
Jim, the other upright.
Yeah. 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 Fireball, corner of the shop. You can go to the next picture, Chris. So, shop's a mess. Here's all the stuff I was going to save. Yeah, there's some pictures of it. So, in front of the fire, dust collector, I have my metal cabinet with all my solvents, with my bandsaw sitting on top of it. Fortunately, I put it on casters, easy to move. Slid it out of the way. Had my drill press there on casters, but they were locked down. Just drug it out of the way so I could get back to the fire. Did shut off the dust collector. Fire extinguisher right there, right where I need it, little bitty guy. Spraying it in, it's doing its job. It ran out. Fire's still going. Run to the other corner of my shop. Got a slop sink, got a bucket. I'm filling it up and having the race between the water and the fire, which is getting filled faster, bigger, faster. Run over, throw water in there, run over, throw water in there. Fire goes out. This is a dust collector, 20-inch diameter, about 2 feet full of dried chips and sawdust. Got to do something else. Got to put that out. It's going to go up again, right? Take off the top bag. Of course, the latch is in the back. Anybody guess what happens next? Whoa! Right in my face. Whoa! It burns. Not bad. 2 weeks ago, little scar. Not bad. Little haircut, little singed hair. Smoke alarm's going off. Shop's full of smoke. I got an air handler right above where the dust collector was. I turned it on to get some of the smoke out of there, open the windows, turn on attic fans, getting the scrap out in the backyard, not dumping a big pile so it catches again, spreading it out, running back in, chips and dust all over the kitchen because I got the attic fan on and the door's open and I'm panicked and I'm running around like an idiot. And I go back down. Well, I turned the furnace off, just it's in the same room. Go back down there and I hear another noise. Like, there's another motor. It's not the blower. It's not the attic fan. Well, the table saw is still running. Yeah, did I mention I was nervous? Turned the table saw off. Smoke's coming out of it. Yeah. Open up the access panel. Of course, there's, dust this high, even with the dust collectors. And there's a strip of wood. That might have been it. There was a couple others. Smoking, the red embers all around it. Fuck. Sorry, that is what I said.
Blowing the embers into the sawdust from the wood that was being burned.
Yeah. Get some plywood I had, get it under there, and get those embers on the ground. That's what you're seeing there. Stomped it out, emptying it out, dumping it in my trash can that I had there, dumping it outside, spreading it out so it doesn't catch fire. Cleaning up stuff so my wife's not too pissed when she comes home. Yeah, that's what I was worried about, by the way. Field burn, of course, I'm fine. Fingers, everything's fine, but I did take a shower. I was covered in crap head to toe. Kind of afraid to look at myself. Turned out nothing worse than a bad sunburn and I thought I might need your heart surgery. It scared the crap out of me. It did.
So what'd your wife have to say?
Well, she was remarkably calm.
When he tells her, he'll let you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's watching this live. Upside down.
Oh, that's the right side up.
Here's the top bag. That's one that went woof when I opened it up or tried to get the fire out. I did go to the fire department last Saturday because I figured I might be talking here and people go, well, what should you have done? You should have done this, knucklehead. So I got two really nice firemen, told my story. I told them it went woof. They said, yeah, you got a little haircut, didn't you? I said, yeah, I did. Some people said I should have called the fire department. It's like, well, I don't know. I said, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? What should I have done? Very nice, professional young fireman. Said, you put the fire out, right? Said, yeah. Said, you did the right thing. I said, you know, I had this the fire extinguisher I had was one of these.
What kind of table saw was it? Is it?
It's a Grizzly 7051 or whatever
Okay.
it is, so it's closed in. I did have a little fire extinguisher, the little aerosol ones. Their words were, "Those are crap. They're good for a match in a trash can, and that's it." He said, "You need a big bad boy," like, and he pointed one of those 30-inch tall ones. I said, "Well, I bought a couple of the bigger ones." He said, "Get plenty." Get plenty. Your shop, he said, this happens. Apparently it happened to the mandolin maker. I don't know what caused his fire. Anyway, this scared the crap out of me. I'm sorry, it did, and I can't get it out of my head. I see this at night. I was up to about 4:30 last night because I was reliving this to tell this.
How long ago did this happen?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago?
AFC Championship weekend. Which I sat on the couch all day and I wanted to do nothing but drink beer, but I didn't have one because I didn't know what shape I was in. Yeah.
How many people have? How many guys have fire extinguishers in their shop?
The ones that didn't raise your hand.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, maybe half of us do. That's a good testimony.
Yeah.
How many are more than baby ones?
Right. If you get those, get a dozen of them.
How many of them are more than 5 years old?
Yeah. You know, they're kind of expensive, right? They're $40 or something. And if you get 2 or 3 of them, maybe 10 of them, they're kind of expensive.
Okay.
I saw my house going up in smoke. I mean, this is in the basement. It's concrete walls, but there are open floor joists and a subfloor. And I don't know if fires go quick.
So your shop is in your basement?
Yeah.
Is it a walkout basement or you got to go upstairs?
Go upstairs.
Wow.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So, word to the wise, safety message, whatever part of this show this belongs in. Get your fire extinguishers. I haven't been back in my shop since. I honestly lost all confidence in anything I know. It's weird. It's a weird feeling. I don't want it. I don't want you guys to have it. Yeah. I hope you never experience it. It's weird. I don't get shook. I just don't get shook.
Any questions?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I think that'd be
I think that'd be a great idea for a class to have a fire extinguisher guy come in and tell us what we need.
Okay. Who's next? Try to be fast. Sure.
My name's Jason Stengel. I was working on some turnings last week, and so I made my first box. And I experimented with multi-axis turning and made some different mushrooms so that the stems aren't perfectly straight. And then I had a teacher last year in South Carolina. His name was Bob. And he said you could make a tool out of just about anything that if you can get it sharp. So I took a paper clip, and I turned a tiny little top. It's hard to see. All of these are finished with Odie's oil.
Awesome.
And this one was a real challenge for me to get the consistent wall thickness. And this is actually my third attempt at a lid. So I didn't hollow it out. I got it to fit and I stopped. Oh, you can't? It's too small to fit on camera. Okay.
Okay. Questions? So all these are finished with Odie?
Yeah. Yeah, Odie's oil.
How'd you like it?
I love it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
once and you're done.
Yeah, it's really nice and it feels great.
Yeah.
Pick the stuff up and just rub your fingers across it. It's like silk. It's beautiful.
Okay. Any questions about these? Very good. Thanks for bringing them in.
I had a lot of fun doing that.
All right, Ken, are you next?
Simple project. Okay. Mine's just a simple project. I got a file, and any of you have used a file before, you know they got a nice tang on the end of it. And when you're using that, if you really let it work, it'll go right into your wrist here. So you need a handle for them. So any of you that got files, put a handle on them. They're simple to make, and they'll keep you from making redwood.
Did you turn this?
Yeah, I turned that.
Okay.
It's Honduras rosewood and brass.
And you made the brass fitting?
The brass is a flare nut. You can buy them at the hardware store. Put them in a drill press or a lathe, spin them around and turn them down to what you need. And they're threaded inside, so you can thread your wood handle and screw them on there. And it's got a little design in the end of it there, because I like little designs.
Sure.
And you need one.
Do you volunteer to do any of these? Volunteer to do any of these?
No.
The handles?
No.
Come on.
If I can do it, anybody can do
I
it.
got a set of Lee Nielsen chisels. I'd like to, and I got the Honduran rosewood to make them out. You
It's
do that
great.
for me?
No.
Any questions about it? Yeah, another class. Thanks. Who's next? Go ahead, Ed. I'll wait. Hi, Ed.
This is just a little candlestick holder or candle stand that I made on the CNC, and machine time on that was probably about 30 minutes for all three parts. The program learning curve on that was probably about 4 days, so I probably could have whittled it out by myself, but I learned a lot in the process, and I really enjoyed it. It's finished with shellac.
How did you fasten the two discs to the middle?
There's a tenon
On
each end,
Okay.
and then a mortise in here.
You just drilled a hole in it?
No, done on the CNC.
Everything?
No, everything was done on the CNC.
That's cheap.
No.
And you finished it with?
Spray on shellac, and I'm not real pleased with the finish that I got from that. If I
Otis
do
oil.
it again, nah, I wouldn't do that in Odie's. I'd probably do a oil-based poly if I do another one. So, but I like Odie's. I use a lot of Odie's.
Is this for home?
Yeah, originally, but I've been leaving it here just to kind of show other people that come in and are interested in CNC about some of the possibilities of it. So,
Okay. Any questions about this? Thanks.
Alrighty.
Nice job.
My name's Fred. This is carved out of basswood and finished in acrylic. I start to paint on acrylic. I paint a solid color, everything solid color. And then I decide what color I'm going to paint the shirt and the pants. And then I put the shirt and the pants color on and the apron. Then I come back and I highlight it right here and here. And on the head here, on the hair, I paint it white first, and then I come back with black or dark gray, and I come back this way so you can see some of the white through it. This here is epoxied on. This is epoxy to the stump, but the blacksmith himself has got screws coming up from the bottom. And this is his slack bucket.
Did you carve the anvil as well?
I carved everything. I carved everything except this thing.
Got to put it up here.
I carved everything except this.
Okay.
And then when I got it all finished, I took burned umber and I thinned it down real thin. And then I put a finish on it again, and it looks like antique. And I let that dry, and then I took spray and I sprayed it. Like, I don't know what the name of it is, but anyway, you spray it and it keeps the dust, it helps you clean it up.
Okay. What are you going to do with this?
I'm going to take it to, I belong to a blacksmith group, and we have an auction every year at end of April. And I'm going to set that in the auction, and that helps raise money for the club.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do.
So when do you put a price on these, or do you or do you take a bid?
No, whatever it brings.
Okay.
And the money goes to the club.
Okay.
I don't get the money.
I'll buy it.
Huh?
I'll buy it.
Well, you got to come to the auction.
Come on, I'm saving you the hassle of taking it there.
Well, I don't have anything else that I can take right now.
All right, I guess I got to go to the. My great grandfather was a blacksmith.
Okay.
So
I've got some paperwork out there in my truck. I got some paperwork in my truck if you need to take some blacksmith classes or something. Or
I'd love to. Yeah.
I mean, if you're interested. Not
Yeah.
that you need to. Where is it? Up at Camden. The guy is real good at teaching.
Very good.
Okay.
Put a sold sticker on that.
Come to the auction.
Okay. Thank you. Kevin, you actually did a project?
Well, I had 4 clocks that I showed last time.
Okay.
And this is hopefully the last clock I'll make. And about a year ago, dear friend of my wife and mine, she was my wife's maid of honor at our wedding, asked me to make a live edge bench for her. And I got the walnut and I had to trim it down, so I cut a little bit off of each side, and I had these 2 8-quarter offcuts, and I said, well, I need to do something with that. And her birthday was coming up, so the lady in question, since it was her wood, I decided to make a clock. And I call this a live edge shelf clock.
So she doesn't know she's getting it yet?
No, she'll get it Friday morning. So.
Ah.
But
What'd you finish it with?
Tung oil and shellac.
Okay.
And then the hour markers are curly maple. I cut plugs out of a maple board I had. And the hardest part was cutting out, mortising the back so I could fit the clockworks in. But
how did you do that? How did you cut that square hole?
Well, kind of a combination. I started with the biggest Forstner bit I had, and then I went to my hollow chisel mortiser and kind of went around the edge to clean it up.
Okay.
It worked.
Good. Got any more? You gonna build any more clocks?
Not for a while.
Okay. Any questions about Kevin's clock?
What do you have to get those plugs round? Do you have a jig? Repeat it.
What do you have to keep the?
How did I make the round plugs?
How did you get that? Do you have a circle or a jig or what?
I printed off a clock face. Did a Google search for a clock face and printed one off, and then used that, reduced it to the size I needed and centered it and then marked through the clock face for each hour mark. It was easy.
Okay. Any other questions? Thanks, Kevin. Who else we got? Anthony? We're quickly running late here, so.
I made this for Matthew so that he could have some other uses for dominoes. I made the dominoes out of Osage orange and used the Domino Cutter to put them in. And I didn't want, some of this is kind of, I don't know if you can see it, yeah, here. It's kind of spider web cracks, and so I used dowels, turned some Osage orange dowels and put them through. This big chunk is just a domino that didn't go all the way through, and so I decided to put something on it so it would look like it was adequate. These are cracked because they're one of 4 of a cord set that I made, and then when I was drying it, I didn't close the bag well enough, and so the bowls on the outside crack, and that's, so it was either burn it or this. This is a piece of birch. It was actually turned by another well, it was started by another wood turner, and it was very hard, very dry, and they put it back somewhere and left it, and then moved, and so I inherited it and turned it. It's very interesting. It's quite crunchy in places because of dead branches, opposite bark, opposite the holes. This here is only bark. I don't think there's any wood behind it, and so just couldn't push too hard. Both of them are finished with a homemade Danish oil, probably 3 coats. I used epoxy to put the dominoes in.
So you turned the inside, hollowed out the inside of this as well.
Oh yeah.
I'd like to see you do that sometime. That'd be a good demo. Yeah. Very good. Any questions about this?
Did it start out as a bowling ball?
Actually, it started out as a vase about like this. I don't remember how. I don't even remember the shape. I threw away. Microphone. Oh. I don't remember what the shape was. It was bigger than this. I threw away probably 1/3 of the height. In fact, now I remember it was shaped like this, like that. And so I threw away 1/3 of the bottom because there's no good way to make a shape out of it.
Other questions?
I got a question. What kind of bag do you put your bowls in?
When I can,
What kind of
what
bags
kind
do
of
you
bags do you put things in to dry? If I can, I use paper grocery bags. You put it inside of one bag, close the bag, and put it inside of another, and then put it on the floor. These bowls were too big to get into a bag, and so what I did was used a plastic trash bag. The problem with a plastic trash bag is it will work too well, and you'll end up with fungus inside. And so what I did was put the bag down and then pull the top of it open just a little bit so some air can get in. One of the problems is I moved it around a number of times, and I was also walking through the room trying to put more stuff in and out, and so wasn't careful enough.
Okay. Thanks.
Can you, if you need the bag to dry it in, could you use one of those big paper lawn bags?
They don't work as well.
Oh.
Tell them that.
They don't work as well, huh? Okay.
Okay, are there any more? Okay.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jason. I'm a brand new member, and I saw that this meeting was happening, so I thought I'd come and jump in. This is a in-grain cutting board. I made one other cutting board. This is my first attempt at an in-grain cutting board. All the lines did match up, and my little walnut boxes aren't really boxes, but we're going to use it at home, so I figured it's good enough. It's a work in progress. It's walnut, maple, cherry, and Paduke, if I'm saying that right. Yeah, a lot to learn. I have a new appreciation for all those fancy in-grain cutting boards that all line up. Took a chunk out of it down here. I think I can mend it. Yeah. I'm going to put a border around it anyway.
What are you going to finish it with?
I forget what it's called. I used it on the first cutting board I made. It's like
Odie's oil?
Butcher block.
Odie's oil.
Something like that.
Odie's
yeah,
oil.
Odie's oil is what I'm using. And yeah, first thing I'm doing tomorrow is buying a fire extinguisher. Thank you to that guy. Yeah, thank you for that story.
Very good. Anybody got any questions about this or cutting boards? Thank you. You know, yeah, I am.
I'd be happy to use some free Odie's oil.
We did the table project, and I called them up, and I said, we're going to build a bunch of tables. And they sent 12 bottles, which is enough to do 100 tables. So, yeah, there'll be some extra out of that for sure that we can leave here for the guild to use. Yeah, for sure. So
Can't do finishing here, folks.
you can with Odie's. Not without a fire extinguisher. Okay. Any questions about this? All right. Thank you. Thanks for bringing that in. Have we got everybody? Yeah, I guess we do.
Okay. We're going to take how much of a break, Chris? 6-minute break. Be back and we'll be ready to go with our program. 6-minute break. If you haven't bought your raffle tickets yet, now's the time to get them.
Is this mic hot?
Your safety and the safety of all members when using any of the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild's hand or power tools is the #1 concern your safety committee and the board of directors of the Guild. Nearly every woodworking project will need to be sized and smoothed by one of the Guild's power surface planers. Currently, we have 2 planers in surface and available for the membership to use. One is a 15-inch jet planer and the other a 20-inch grizzly planer. Hi, my name is Christine Kessler and welcome to the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild's ongoing series of machine safety videos. Today, we will cover the safety rules and requirements of the Guild's power surface planers and how to safely operate these machines. Keep in mind that this video is targeted to only cover the operational safety points of our power surface planers and is not designed to be a complete training program in the use of these machines. A power surface planer is used to smooth and dimension your lumber to the final thickness needed to construct your project. Both of the planers currently in the Guild inventory have helical cutting heads that smooth the top of any boards fed into the machine. Each of the machines have an adjustable table that raises and lowers to allow you to plane lumber, making multiple passes to a very accurate and specific thickness and smoothness. Remember, when you are in the shop, please direct any questions about using our planers and any of the other Guild equipment to the on-duty shop foreman. She or he is there to act as a vital resource to keep you safe, providing advice and assistance to successfully complete your project. While you are in the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild shop, you must wear OSHA-approved safety glasses with side shields at all times. Your regular glasses are not approved for use in any shop activity while you are at the Guild. The noise created in the operation of a surface planer might make you wear plugs or earmuffs. While not a safety requirement of the Guild, it is solely a personal decision. However, there is one caution on hearing protection. Our Guild's rules stipulate that any hearing protection worn by members must not have the ability to receive any type of broadcast media. Failure to follow this requirement may result in losing your shop privileges. Additionally, you should not wear any loose clothing or jewelry. Long hair should be tied back to prevent it from catching in the machine and drawing you into it, which can result in significant injury. Before surfacing any material on the thickness planer, the material must be flat and true on one face and not less than 12 inches in length. Flat material will have first been surfaced on a jointer or flattened by hand planing. A board not flattened and put through the planer will result in a board that is smooth, but that will mirror the warp, twist, cup, or bend to the other side of the board. You should examine your material and remove any loose knots from your board before planing so that they are not caught by the cutters and turned into projectiles when fed into the machine. Another solution to loose knots is that they may be locked into place by applying an epoxy resin to fill any gaps. However, application of epoxies will delay your planing operations until the epoxy completely cures. Any and all reclaimed lumber must be presented to the foreman on duty before machining to determine its suitability for use. It must also be thoroughly checked for any hidden nails or other metals with an approved metal detector. Treated green, yellow, or other ground contact lumber is banned from use at the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild. These lumbers have been treated with chemicals that may have negative health consequences. Before starting, adjust the planer to a thickness that allows the boards that you are going to be planing to pass easily under the cutting head without removing any more than 1/32 to 1/16 of an inch of material. Always run wood through the planer with the grain running parallel to the length of the planer bed. Never plane across the grain or across an in-grain slab. This will almost certainly cause tear out, and it may happen in an explosive manner by damaging the planer and possibly injuring the operator. While planer kickbacks are rare, they are potentially violent. When feeding stock into the planer, always stand to the left or right of the feed table to be clear of any kickback should it happen. Extremely dry or brittle wood also has the potential to shatter and be ejected from the infeed side of the planer. If the board is thicker on one end than the other and jams in the machine, do not shut it off. Slowly crank open the height adjustment wheel until the board resumes feeding through the planer. Should the machine lock up and trip the circuit breaker, crank open the feed table until you can clear the jam and then immediately notify the foreman so that they can reset the breaker and you can resume working. If you need to plane any stock that is equal to or less than 3/8 of an inch thick, you must use a backer board. If the stock to be planed is equal to or less than 1/4 of an inch thick, it is too thin to be fed through any of our planers and must be hand planed or may possibly be fed through a wide belt or edge sander. As you feed stock into the planer, be careful not to get your fingers pinched in between the stock and the infeed table. The downward pressure of the feed rollers on the stock presents as a substantial crush injury risk. Keep your hands, fingers, and any other body parts more than 3 inches away from the infeed ports of the machine at all times. It is acceptable to have a helper catch your material as it exits the planer. He or she should place the boards on top of the planer's return rollers or stack the material on a cart and nearby table. If the planer's attached dust collector has a warning light and it begins flashing while you are planing, shut down your operation and the dust collector and remove and empty the dust barrel attached to the collector. Again, if you're not sure how to do this, ask your foreman for some assistance and you'll be a pro before you know it. When finished, shut down the planer and then the dust collector. However, if your planer is sharing its dust collector with another machine, make sure that another member isn't using the shared machines. If so, leave the dust collector running so that they can safely complete their operation. Check around your work area for dust and debris. Clean up both the machine and the adjacent floor area. Please remember, be alert and always be safe. For the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild, this is Christine Kessler. Thanks for watching.
Can you hear me now? Here we are. Oh, are we just going? I guess. Hi.
Okay.
Okay. No,
So-
he's going to do it.
So,
I got you.
okay.
Hello, welcome back, the second half. We've got a very special program tonight. Jim has been running this program, Flourish Finishing, where they're building these tables, and he discovered that people didn't know what the domino machine was or how it worked. So Jim and Craig got together, and they're going to do a demonstration tonight on what a domino machine is and how it works. So welcome, Jim and Craig. Thank you.
Go ahead.
You're on?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so in the process of doing those tables, we used the domino method for the mortise-and-tenon, floating mortise-and-tenon, to attach the stretcher or the apron to the legs, as opposed to the traditional mortise-and-tenon that you normally see on furniture. Domino is, Festool makes this domino, and they've done it for a number of years. And they're the only ones at this point that have this particular piece of technology. I understand that the patent is soon to run out on the domino, and so I would venture to guess that there's going to be a number of players in this in the upcoming pretty soon, I would suspect.
Yeah, it will be.
These are fantastic machines. They're a game changer as far as mortise and tenon, and they are so flexible that we wanted to put on a demonstration to kind of let everybody know that the guild does have one. It's this one right here. Domino makes two sizes. They make the small size and the big size, the 500 and the 700. They're a little bit different in their capabilities, in that the 500 can cut smaller dimension tenons and uses smaller dimension tenons and cuts smaller mortise. The 700 does it with the bigger ones. And the people that build log homes and use those that kind of technology basically uses this big one, and they can come in as high as 14 millimeter in height of the tenon, or what they cut is cutting the tenon. They make the good part about it is it's really flexible. The bad part about anything that you buy from Festool is extremely expensive. You might as well remortgage the house. This particular machine right now runs at about $1,600. That machine there runs about $1,200. Then all the accessories can go on it. But what we wanted to show you is some of the basic things that you can do with the domino. Right here, I kind of used a face frame and a side piece demonstration, and it's just with plywood. And if you want to get rid of all the screws, if I can pull this apart, you can see that I dominoed the face frame to the side piece without having to use screws or whatever, and it automatically lines up. You can use it for the face frame, and it's really quick. In a little bit, we'll get Mr. Genius over here to show him what he did, show you what he does with his machines, which are the same, basically the same concept. One of the things that I found out when we were doing the table project was we were getting 3 full table tops out of 1 sheet of plywood because we were cutting them at 32 inches, and we were making these tops 32 by 36. So we had 3 pieces of, that's basically 75% of the sheet of plywood, and we had 3 pieces of plywood left over that I figured out a way to glue all these pieces of plywood together and make another top. The problem with plywood is that, if I can get this back together, you put it back together.
Okay.
The problem with plywood is that top veneer is paper thin, and so when you line it up to glue it together, it's got to be really, really even. And using the Domino as basically a biscuit joint on steroids, it was really easy. I'll pass this around, and you can see how smooth the top of this is, how we got it. The other thing you can use a Domino for is putting miters together. It's a little bit tricky because the first time I did it, I cut through the top of the piece. And so you got to use smaller dominoes for something like this, but it works really, really well, and it's easy to do, and it really reinforces the joint immensely. The other thing that you can do is put 45 miters together and use a regular square clamp to clamp them up. That's really easy to do. I'll pass this around, and you could take a look at this and take a look at this as well if you want to. The other thing that, once you buy a basic domino set, then you got to figure on spending the extra money for the accessories. And there's a couple of companies that's all they do is make accessories for dominoes. And this particular one I have right here is made by Seneca, and it basically enabled me to take a small block, center it up on here, and I can center it up with that movable stop, clamp it in place, and cut it. And if you have it indexed right, like this one that's exactly in the center, you can butt glue joints together that are that won't come apart. They basically that's a real weak joint because of the end grain, and you can reinforce that to the point where you can't get it apart if you glue it together. I'll pass this around if you want.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're made out, the dominoes from a festival are made out of beech. And they will expand. So you want to keep them closed up, not in your humid shop, because you'll never get them in or out.
And they fit tight. That's it.
Yeah.
The other thing about a domino, I don't know if we can. You want to explain? You want to explain about the width of the oscillator?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it might be easier to show you on the sample we've got in this one here. So when it's making a net cut, that means that it's exactly the size of the domino itself. By adjusting the feature up here, I can make that cut a little bit wider. And on this particular machine, on the smaller machine, I can go +6 millimeters or +10 millimeters. And I don't know if Chris wants to see this.
If we go right about here, I can get you.
Okay. So the net one looks like this here. And so when I go up then to the +6, I have a little bit of room on either side that I can slide that back and forth, or even +10. So the +10 might be good if you're putting a breadboard end on a tabletop. I can put a net domino in the center and then a +6 or a +10, and that will allow that breadboard or your tabletop to expand and contract within that breadboard on there. Another thing that I do is I might, like he was putting the tops together, or the pieces of plywood. On one side, I might have all net size holes. And then on the other piece, I will have something that might be +6 millimeters wide. So in case my lines are off just a little bit from piece to piece, I will have a little play then when I put the second board together. So I always make sure I have my N side and my +6 side. I know which one's which. What's that?
The critical distance is this
Right. Yeah, as long as you're operating on the same reference face, everything should line up just perfectly then. Yeah. So, I don't know if you want to make some cuts, or let me pass this around too. And this is a domino here. You'll notice that there's some little ridges on the outer edge of that domino. That really holds this thing in snug. Now this thing's kind of old and people have been shoving dominoes in and out of it, but on a freshly cut one, you put it in, you'll be hard pressed to pull it out without pliers. It's really hard. A lot of people will take those ridges and sand those ridges off and use these and put an A on it for assembly or a dry fit. They just want to see how everything fits together. So they might have a handful of these that they've written an A on it or a D or something, so that they know that this is the one that they're going to use to dry fit their pieces with. So, but yeah, once it gets together, it's hard to get them apart. And particularly if once you put glue on them, the moisture in the glue will cause that beach domino to swell. And it's in there for a good long time. You want to have your wits about you when you're doing a glue up using that, because it can go together has to go together pretty quick. Otherwise your dominoes. Now, a lot of times I end up relying on my clamp to pull it that last 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch tight.
You want to run one?
Sure.
Just to show how easy it is.
Yeah. So I'm gonna. You want to put two pieces together, or?
Yeah, I can get another piece.
Okay. So one of the things that always have to be cognizant of, what's that? Don't be nervous. One of the things you always have to be cognizant of is that your work has to be so that when you're pushing on the board, it is not going to be moving, because you're putting a lot of pressure on that work here. Yeah, let's see if we can come in from this side. Alrighty. So if we've got two pieces and I've got a line drawn, where's my square?
Oh, this isn't the same thickness, but that won't make any difference.
No, I just want to put a couple lines on here. There's, on this guy here, I can lay that down to get my angle right on here. And when I'm using this, I'm not trying to steer it with my hand. As you can see, I'm leaning on this with my hand on this handle down here. And my lean in, and I'm just pushing that in and pulling it back. I'm not trying to steer it or anything. So up on the screen, I don't know if you can see this. Might be easier to.
Here, you want me to wheel this over?
No, I'll just take this off.
Okay.
Can we go to this one, Chris? See, there's some, kind of hard to see there. There's some clear etched or black lines etched on this clear plastic down here at 0. There's also these triangles up here. The point of that triangle is also right in the dead center of the bit. Another adjustment that I need to make is the height of the fence. So from the bottom, from the bottom here, the center of this bit is 10 millimeters away. So that's always a known. I always know where this is. And so I have a ruler in my other apron that is actually in millimeters. So it makes it real easy to measure a piece in millimeters. I can come over here because all these measurements on here are set up in millimeters.
I switched mine over, the height of this, I switched it over to Imperial because I think Imperial is easier to work with when you're working with 3/4 inch or 1.5 inch or whatever material. In having to do that, you have to put an adapter plate on, which is this black plate right here on mine. So your piece sets a little bit farther away from that black middle line. It's just a little bit harder to pick up. But the other thing is on the side of this is where you measure the depth of the cut, and it's in millimeters because all of these are in millimeters. So that's kind of a hassle to have to put up with.
Old dog, new trick, you know.
Yeah, that's the other thing about Festool is their cords are all the same for all their tools.
Yeah, the engineers at Festool said, what do people out in the field, because all the Festool's products are designed to be used out in the field. And so what do they spend a lot of time doing? Winding up cords on their tools. So why not just use the same cord and just attach the tool to the cord? And so that was one of the biggest things that saves the craftsman out in the field a lot of time, is doing that. So on this, you'll always have to run dust collection. Now this is my personal dust collector. I like showing it off, but it makes it easy because the cord's hose is out of the way, the cord's out of the way. When I fire this up on the Festool, it will come on automatically on the dust extractor. These aren't vacuum cleaners or vacuums. When you spend $800 for a vacuum, they're called dust extractors. I didn't pay that much for it when I worked at Woodcraft. But I've also got this set up so that it will come on automatically and then turn off automatically.
Does it delay turning off?
Yeah, it'll turn it off. It'll wait about 7 to 10 seconds to clear the hose. And the green hoses are carbon lined, so there's no static buildup in them. So I've got my lines drawn here, and a lot of people I see when they use this, they draw their line, and their line ends up being 1/8 of an inch thick. Well, what line? No, it's just one line. And with good light above you, you can line that right up on there. And again, I'm on net. I turn this on. This comes on. And so you end up with, mortises. That's all this machine does, is make mortises. And that's all these things are, just loose tenons. So, and they line up perfectly then. So you can do another board and line it up. As long as I have my faces match, this will be just a smooth transition from one board to the next on there. One of the neat things that this tool also offers is it has some other fences and guides to go along with it. So if you're doing a long piece, I can fit these guys in. Let me take this out, a little easier to show you. Get on something flat here. Okay, so on the domino itself, there's a couple of spring-loaded stops, and so that way I can hook over the edge of a piece, and that's my edge, and it's got another stop on this side. Well, the spring's broken on this one, so golly, what do you do? All right. Well, we have replacement springs, so I'll get in there and fix that. But as you get down to longer pieces, if you're doing a whole tabletop, I can adjust these little stops and get them at the same position. And now when I go from one side to the other, one board to the other board, these spring-loaded stops catch in the mortise that you've created. And then I can go to the next hole and lock into that one. So they're all consistent as you go down. If my stops are set at the same position, I can go to my other board, and while the domino machine is running, that's when you change the speed or the size of your domino. Don't turn it, something about the gearing inside. So you turn that to the net, and now I can hook into that hole, hook into the hole, and as I go down, every one of those are going to be exactly in the same position. And I don't even have to measure them. Don't even have to mark them. I can just lay it out like that. Then, and I think your machine can take these too.
Yeah, I have. I also have.
And they just fit into there's a little dovetail. Hey, nice picture. Can you see this? Here, I'm going to come over here. Oop, wrong camera. Oop, wrong side. Nope, we got it on the wrong side. Oh, there it is. See, there's a little dovetail that slides into, and then it just locks it down. And Mike McCullough can tell you how expensive these things are.
I also have one that fits on here that you can change the width of a piece of trim if you want to cut one into the butt end of a piece of trim on here. Also have another attachment that fits on like this that makes this table a little bit flatter, so it stabilizes the piece that you're putting in horizontally a little bit more.
No, so I think you've got, that's this piece.
Yeah.
Here. And so people ask, well, how do you get dominoes if I want to put a fixed shelf in my returns? You know, how do I domino that in? Well, you expand the base, and with a straight edge, you can run your dominoes across the face and line it up. And there's a reference line here, and I have a reference line on my shelf. And so I can go through and create each domino, run that up against a fence, and now I can go to my shelf and do my shelf side ends, and then those will fit together. So they're pretty phenomenal machines.
Jim, there's your trim.
Yeah, then that one's for cutting the end grain. So like that piece that Jim had where he put the end grain together.
Cut in here.
Yeah, so that's the piece that will do that. So if you're doing repetitive cuts, that fixes it so that it will center it on there. And you have to do a little setup on this stuff. It will center it on your work piece, or you can purposely offset it if you want to with this. Sometimes that might be important if you have to do some routing after the fact. So if you put a door together and then you need to take a face frame and put a little OG around it, you might want to move your dominoes out, though they are decorative, but you may not want to see them in your routing. Make sense?
So
they hold their adjustment.
Yes.
There are always 3 adjustments that you got to make sure that you make before you start a new piece. One is the depth of cut. Here, you know, this is going to be the depth of cut, and it's done on the side. They're a little bit different on both of these machines. The other one is the height or the depth of the cut this way. And the other one is if you've got the right bit in there. I've made that mistake about 4 times. So they go all the way from 4 millimeters to 14 millimeters in terms of thickness this way.
Yeah, I knocked one of the small ones down. Let me.
This machine right here, the small machine, is the only one that does the 4 millimeters. That machine won't do. It starts at 5 millimeters and goes up.
So like when I teach the craftsman clock class, we're actually using these little tiny ones instead of everyone learning how to cut mortise and tenons. Golly, sorry to disappoint you. We're cutting them with Domino because it just blazes through. Oh, good. Okay. Well, anyway, that's what they look like. So.
Okay. Anybody got any questions about what we're saying here?
I got a question. When you're doing end grain like this, okay, when you put that domino in, it's compressed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when that thing gets wet, it will expand some. Will it show on your surface sometimes?
If you're too close.
If you're real close to...
Particularly in plywoods too. If you're too close to the surface ply.
The rule is...
How thick do I need to leave that?
You want to put your domino on sheet goods or like 3/4, 1 inch stock. You want to put your domino in the middle.
But down a quarter then.
And the rule of thumb is, we're talking about metric now. This is 18 millimeters right here. And so the rule of thumb is that you want to use a third, and a third. So that middle third will be the domino. So that's 6 millimeters.
So then I got to pay pretty close attention to how thick of stuff I'm working with.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Now
what I
on
wanna
bigger
know.
stuff, I've seen people take like on that leg, for example, that square piece that he had.
Yeah.
I've seen people register one side, flip the work over and do the other one. And then they grab their other side and they do that and they put them together. The domino holes aren't matching up because those are 2 different thicknesses.
Mm-hmm.
So your stock thickness has to be controlled very well. If you use a jointer and a planer,
So you determine your domino by how thick the stuff is that you're working with.
Generally, yeah.
Yeah.
It has to be 1/3 of the total thickness of the
That's
tile.
ideal.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Okay.
Now, sometimes when you're using thicker stuff, like when I worked at Woodcraft, we had a door maker came in, and he made these fabulous entry doors. I mean, he wouldn't get out of bed for less than $30,000. And he would use this machine. Well, he ended up coming back to buy the smaller one. But on some of his doors, up at the top and the bottom, there might be 6 dominoes of these giant dominoes, 3 on one side and 3 on the other. And this is actually a shorter one. They actually make them about this long right out of the box, but you can also get long sticks of them as well and cut them up to the length you need. And that's the SIPO, the mahogany ones that are great for outdoor work. And that's what he did. He just cut his length on them.
Jim and Craig.
Yes.
You're showing the Festool domino. Is there another brand?
Not yet. I'm sure that there are companies coming out with, once this patent expires, companies will come out with their machines, but you can still use your dominoes, the wooden dominoes.
How does the guild handle the? We don't just give the domino tenons away for free, do we?
No, there's a little price sheet, which I'm glad to say that most people abide by. It's this ratty-ass piece of paper inside the domino box. If you're using the 4 millimeter dominoes in what we call a pack of 15, they cost $1. For most work, like the 8 millimeter or 6 millimeter domino, there's a pack of 7 for $1. And when we say pack, that means you count out 7, there's $1. Oh, I need 15 for this project. Well, you're going to end up with 21. So you count out 21, give the shop foreman $3, and then he'll write it up and stick an envelope in there, but you'll end up with a few extra dominoes.
If you go to Rockler or Woodcraft, these are 30 cents a piece, and you can buy the smallest pack you can buy them is a pack of 100.
Now what the guild did was they bought the set, and so this is when you need to use this, you come ask the shop foreman for the domino. He'll give you the domino machine in one box, and then in the other one are the dominoes themselves. And there's plenty of them back in the
Are the extra bits in there, the different bits?
And yeah, the different bits are also in with the machine. So that way if you need to, and most shop foremen know the basics on how to get you started. Mine is, here's a metric ruler, you're gonna need this. So most people get along pretty good once they take, don't think about imperial when you're using this machine. So.
Can you talk about changing the bit?
Yeah, changing the bit on it is surprisingly easy. Let me get my wrench out here. Of course, we hadn't had the machine about a month, and I think somebody either broke or took the wrench, so we've got this little wrench in here. Can I come over this camera, Chris? Okay, there's a, whoop, kick it again. There's a little tab right here, and you want to just get that wrench underneath that, and now this just whoop, pulls off. All right. There's a button on the side, this black button back here. Get the light on it. That button right there. And that locks the shank on here. And then it's just a matter of loosening the bit, putting the next bit on. And because as this bit spins, it tightens. So it's not death grip gorilla tight, it's just snug. I'm done. And then inside on here, you'll see that the post on this, one's longer than the other one's shorter. They line up with the holes on here and goes back. There it is. And so your bit should, and so on this machine, the depth of cut is controlled by that. If I can get my camera, there we go. Controlled by that little gizmo. So I lift that up and then lift this green thing. And so now if I'm way down here at the bottom, I get a really deep extension of the bit. But if I come way up here to say 12, see I get very little extension on the bit there. All right. This setting over here on this side, turn that, I get some light on it. There's a little window there that you can see the numbers in there. That is what's going to set for the height of the fence. And so flip that one.
What you're talking about here?
That window right there. All right. And so that will let me set the height. So if I'm at something that's 25 millimeters thick, I can set it there, comes down, locks it down. And now that's going to set it at, from the top of this plate to the center of the bit will be 12.5 millimeters.
That's a half inch.
Since I've set that at 25. Okay. Yeah. And so that's, as long as you're measuring stuff in metric, you can do that. Now you don't have to play with this thing at all. You can just arbitrarily move that completely out of the way and then move this anywhere you want to and say, yeah, that looks good right there. I'll do it there. So that's also when you're doing stacked tenons. You may want to do one real close, same reference face on the piece of wood. And now I want to move it up here, same reference face on the piece of wood and put it together. And now go to my other piece of wood, do all my short ones and then do all my long ones. I would resist flipping the board over to do that because I'm using a different reference face. They talk about, in the festool training, they talk about reference face a lot. in this. When I went to Las Vegas for the training, they said, "Oh, reference face, reference face." I mean, I got tired of hearing reference face, but it's true. If you mix up your reference face, your work's going to come out, and there might be a little gap, or one side's a little high than the other.
This is an adapter that I bought for my machine that lets me use the small bits in the big machine. It's this adapter right here. That adapter cost me $100. But it doubled just about doubled the use of my machine, the capabilities of my machine.
So you didn't have to spend $1,200.
Yeah. So Les, you've got, you want to take just a couple minutes and explain to what?
You want to just roll this over there? We can put it, okay. Well, biscuits are just for alignment. Dominoes are actually structural. They will actually.
I use a domino pretty much every day. Got the big one, got the little one. It's cumbersome to, you saw him clamp the board to the bench and use the machine. I got tired of that, so I came up with these. I call it a domino slide. Slide it in, slide it back, slide it out. This one is set up for 3/4. This one is set up for.
Yeah.
This one is set up for 3/4. The big one over there is set up for 1 inch. We make all our doors 1 inch thick, so we keep that one set in 1 inch, and we keep one for 3/4. Very simple. You don't have to handle the machine. I can set this up and domino the stiles and rails for all the doors for a very large kitchen in 30 minutes. It's extremely fast. I cut a bunch of short pieces for an 8-sided frame. Taped a block on here, put them in there, cut all the dominoes in 60 seconds. Put the frame together. Makes it a lot faster. It lines up perfectly. I can flip the pieces. You know, the way they're doing it, you need to reference off the same face every time. I can flip them over, and it comes out. And I can also center them so that if I turn this around, it's flush on the bottom either way. Doesn't matter.
That's assuming that you've prepped your material correctly. That's asking a lot for some of the members I see here on Tuesday. Oh, did that come out loud?
Your mic's still on.
Oh, my mic's still on? Okay.
To use it, it's really simple. This is already set up for the center of these blocks. Place it in there, lock it down, slide it back for your rail. This being a stile, it goes in the other way. Lock it down, cut it, and you're done. You mark the center of one rail, and you never mark another.
Mm-hmm.
Once it's set up, all of them are cut the same. You can also do multiples with this. All you have to do is set this, and there's extensions that'll go on here. Move this back to the first hole, cut it, slide it over, slide a spacer in there, cut it again, you're done. And do that with all your pieces. And there again, comes out flush, both sides and the bottom perfectly. That one over there is set up for miters. You can do any angle, any. All you got to do is tape a stop block on here at that angle, and you can cut that angle for 16 sides, 20 sides, 4 sides, doesn't matter. And just flip the pieces, and you're done. That's basically how it works. I can do all kinds of things with this. So I made some doors once that the frames were an inch thick, and it had slats that went across that had spaces in them, and they were a ½ inch. I just took the one set at an inch, did my stiles, marked my first slat that went in there, put a 1/4 inch spacer under it, cut them all, and they're centered in the frame. Did them in just a few minutes. I've sold one of each of these to a guy in Wichita that's a one-man shop that all he makes is cabinet doors. But all his cabinet doors are cope and stick. And he was using the large machine to put dominoes in his larger doors because he didn't want the joints to break. He come and asked me if there was an easier way than this. I said, not that I know of, and that's where these were born from. I went out to shop, I made this one first, made that one, sold him both of them. They're permanently mounted. He's had them 5 years. He uses them absolutely every day. He loves them. Saves him a lot of time. Don't have to carry the machine around. The machine comes out really quick. This one just has a bar. There's a little slot in the bottom of the machine. That bar fits down in there and holds this in. This one has a little nib sticking out where the cord goes in. It just goes in that hole, and then you plug it in. Take that off, take the bar off. And this, the red part here, is Woodpeckers. They made those for doing sheets of plywood, all kinds of different things. Really cumbersome, heavy to use. But I just used those and turned this upside down. I added a stabilizer underneath here. That one's configured a little different because the machine's different. But you just take the bar off of this one, lifts out. 2 screws on this, that's off. And you can use it the normal way. Same way on that one. It's got an extra bar and a rod that holds the machine in place. But they just take a couple of minutes to take them out.
I'm half joking, but half serious. Did you patent that?
I have not. But no one's seen it but you guys and our shop. I am fixing to, I have 35 of these ready to go except for the aluminum. I have about 40 of those except for the aluminum. I couldn't get anybody to do my aluminum parts for me, and I didn't want to do it myself. All the places just want to make aircraft parts. Wasn't a big enough order for them, I guess. But I'm going to go ahead and this summer and try to get all the aluminum parts for what I've got done. But I am thinking real serious about getting a hold of Festool. You know, they buy things. You know, the Shaper.
Yeah.
The guys that started that, Festool bought them out.
Yeah. They were college students when they got bought.
Huh?
They were college students that made that.
Yeah.
And they were still in college when Festool bought it from them.
I'm thinking real serious about pursuing that because I don't feel good anymore and I don't feel like making a bunch more of them. This all started about 5 years ago, and things happened. The pandemic, father-in-law died, you know, all kinds of stuff. Mother-in-law died, and I never got back to it. So that's why I've never done anything with it. I can't imagine any shop that makes doors and uses a domino not wanting one. That's just my opinion. That's why I started this whole deal. I don't know what else to say, but
I'd get it patented before I talk to anybody.
it's expensive. You know, Woodpecker's deal went up in price. It's in. There's a box over there. They adjust the height by these spacers. I can do anywhere from a 1/2 inch to 2 inch thick material and put it in the center. Okay, with no problem. Like I say, there's all kinds of things. I've used it for a number of different things, like the tables they're making, and the aprons are offset of the leg.
Mm-hmm.
I can use that one over there, set it just a little deeper, do the leg, put a spacer under it, or do the leg, put a spacer under it, and then do the aprons with the same machine in just a few minutes. And you don't have to mark anything. You don't have to mark any of them.
Yeah.
You know, one other feature about Dominoes is they're really safe to use. You're never exposed to an exposed moving bit when you're using them because they retract. You can set them down when they're still running. They don't sound like Swiss watches, but you know there's a lot of moving parts in them. So,
Yeah.
but they're really safe to use.
But the woodpicker set now costs $550, I believe. Used to be $475. They went up in price. This was supposed to be a one-time tool, and they put it on their deal permanent. With what I've got in the boxes, I was selling this one for $469, that one for like $589, I think. So you're going to have $2,500 in one. So it's not a cheap thing, you know, for somebody to just mess around in their garage or something. But for a cabinet shop, man,
That never stopped some of us before.
it saves so much time. I'm not kidding. It's crazy. All I got to do is have somebody come in the shop down there, the ones I've sold, show them how it works, how it operates. The cabinet door guy, his material is all 13/16. So I set both of his machines up at 13/16. So as long as you keep the material the same, the thickness that the machine's set for, it'll be just like those samples. It'll be flush on both sides, flip everything over, and super, super fast.
Cool. Thank you. That's neat.
Pardon?
I'm getting the wrap it up.
We need to wrap it up.
Yeah.
We're running way behind.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Anyway, any questions?
Yeah, so
Thank you, Les.
if you want to use the Domino, we have the small Domino here. The shop foreman will show you how to hook it up to one of the DeWalt dust extractors. But you have to use dust extractor with this. Pull the dust out of the hole. If you don't, you run the risk of breaking the bit, and it dulls the bit a lot faster. But when it's full of chips in there, you can break the bit off in there. And I will send you out to Woodcraft or Rockler to buy a new bit. So.
Bits are $54.
Yeah. So don't break a bit.
Okay, I've got a quick question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just curious if you want to use it for putting together a box out of 18mm plywood or a face frame out of 3/4. Is that a?
No.
But can you face frame 3/4 out of a large box?
Are you talking about
18 millimeter.
Yeah.
Are you talking about this miter at the corners of a box?
Possibly but that would both be the 18mm.
Yeah, you just want to make a face frame on the return of
Yeah,
a
we can
3/4
talk
inch
about this
cabinet.
afterwards.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen, both for giving presentation tonight. As you well know, we have our mug shot for you.
Here.
I'll get Craig first.
Here, we'll do it all together here.
And the only way they can get the mugs is by giving a presentation. So thank you all for being here tonight. Let's help put the shop back together. For those of you on Facebook Live, we thank you for joining us tonight. Come on down, be live audience next time, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
A special thank you to our guest today. For more information about the Guild, upcoming classes, and events, please visit our website kcwg.org. You can also find us on social media by searching for Kansas City Woodworkers Guild. And remember to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications.